another episode of URC Chumps. I got my fellow champions, Jacques and Darragh. Darragh, how's it up there in Limerick, especially after this wonderful weekend?
Oh, this weekend was cack. As they say down in the Orange Republic. It's rainy. It's very cold, which is why I was sick last week because I had the flu because it's flu season. But it could be worse. We could be in Dublin. So
Yeah.
Excuses.
And Jacques, how's it in Natal?
Excuses. Um, let's say it's warm and cloudy though. We did win by the skin of our teeth,
once in a
but
lifetime.
a win is a win. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Winning is winning.
Yeah. Well, here in Cape Town, it was a brisky 30 degrees with actually very little wind, which is actually weird for down here in the Cape. But yes, uh, guys, let's first start with the big elephant in this week regarding the Bulls. The fact that it's 2 weeks that players have got red cards, and both weeks, both cards have been overturned. I'm almost thinking that the level of officiating is a bit up and down right now. There isn't a level of consistency or a level of agreement when it comes to the laws. I don't know what you guys are thinking regarding that.
Yeah, I think. Well, I said it to you. I think the red card, the first one, the one against the Ospreys away. I think that is borderline 50-50. So I think it's quite fair enough that that's a red card because as much as it's just a handoff, you still led with your forearm elbow, which you can't do. And you're always running the risk if you lead with your elbow and your forearm, you're running the risk of hitting a guy in the head. And you could say it's a bit unfortunate. Dan Edwards is smaller than Creel, but he has still forearmed him in the head with a bit of power behind it. So I think that is kind of borderline. So, maybe it's a bit unlucky. I don't think it's horrible officiating, but the one in Connectly, that's never a red card. That is borderline between a penalty and a yellow. I'd say it's more a penalty than a yellow card. I think you know, he does make head contact. But as we learned, the last World Cup is kind of the main one. I'm going to bring it back to Wales, Argentina, when I think it was Guido Petty hit Tompkins in the head, but Tompkins dropped like a stone. It wasn't even given as a penalty. And Carl Dixon on that day said that not all head contact is foul play. I think you're looking at pretty much something similar. It's a very soft tackle. It's extremely soft tackle. There's no force in it. The player is dropping, but I think he's gone down like he's after getting hit by a gun, which is, a totally other issue, but it's not a red card. There isn't enough force behind it. There isn't enough maliciousness behind it for me. So I think, yeah, it's extremely dodgy. And also on the officiating, I think there's some games now that referees are losing control of. Like the Munster-Leinster game, uh, obviously I didn't get to talk about it last week, but the referee lost control of that, was making horrendous decision after horrendous decision. We had the Andrew Brace incident where he had to apologise to the Stormers. The URC apologised to Munster last week because we only had 14 men on the field for about 5 minutes of the game, through no like yellow card or anything. So yeah, I think ultimately the URC's decision making. I know referees have a hard time. I like to kind of stick by them, but a lot of bad calls are being made.
I think that is something we're gonna have to make sure everybody understands is we are not blaming the ref. That of course is, like I said in the past, is part of the conditions and part of the mindset of the game, because that is a condition that comes because of definition and interpretation of the laws is slightly different. So like to a player to a ref might be different to each other. But I do think there is a problem with it. I mean, I just had a conversation earlier this day on a different podcast that they were talking about someone like Bandiaki against Connor Leinster. The way he came in was a lot more dangerous than like a Sam Kane against Jesse Creel. Um, like they're wanting to bring down the head injuries, but then the slightest touch is a high risk, and where someone comes diving in and literally, for me, Bundy Aki never wraps his arm around. He always has one arm. Um, and almost like a shoulder charge in. Like it's becoming a bit of a gray area to the point that now Rugby Football Union is now coming up with that whole new aspect of schools, which I do understand is schools that don't have proper fields, they can't play contact in. Literally a touch version of rugby where you, instead of a tackle, it's a touch, and then you go down for a mini breakdown, and then there's going to be scrums and lineouts in it. Like, I do understand, but where's the aspect of tackling? Because if those guys then all of a sudden go up into a different thing and they go face, like as they said, the posh white school, they're literally going to get dominated because these guys are going to come in and tackle on the point, and these guys are just literally going to throw straight clotheslines everywhere.
Yeah, I think the other issue with that is they're not gonna. You need to know how to tackle. You're gonna get a lot of kids getting injured. Not maybe not high tackles, but people who don't know how to tackle could get head injuries. You could be bouncing heads off people's hips or shoulder injuries. I know my cousin, his shoulder actually popped out during a rugby match because of a bad tackle he made. So you're going to have things like that. People are getting shoulder injuries, arm injuries, as I said, even head injuries where you could be bouncing off a guy's hip or a knee or something like that. So I think that's probably too far in terms of if you're trying to limit down injuries. I don't think that's going to work. That's actually going to cause more injuries, probably more serious injuries than just playing on an astroturf because there's
Yeah.
hundreds and hundreds of them in Ireland and in Britain because the weather is so bad that, in the winter, our fields are like muck. And it's the same down in South Africa. We saw during the under 20s World Cup that the fields can turn to absolute muck in the middle of winter down there.
No, Jacques, and your view on that, especially studying it more and more these days.
It's always nice to listen how the public, if I can say it like that, interprets how the ref sees a game. Now, I was sitting and I was watching that game on Friday night, and I think it was two phases before the red card was given. There was two high tackles. The one where, yes, I can't remember, the player jumped up into the air when as he came down, there was a arm wrapped around his neck, and I think it was literally the next phase where a guy was tackled around the neck. You can see it clearly around the neck as he forced him to go down. And I'm saying to my girlfriend sitting next to me, I said, "That's a high tackle, that's a high tackle," but nothing happens. And then literally 30 seconds later, the red card comes, and you can see the mitigation where both the players went down. The one player, if you see it, if you look carefully, you can see how he changed direction and then ran into what's his name, Johan Grobler.
Grobler.
And yeah, you see that. So there wasn't really time for him to react on that, and then it's a red, which to me is a bit unfair, obviously, because I said about the two high tackles before that, and the the match officiating, it's been poor. It's not all the referees, obviously, because I'm going to stand up for Griffin and to Mornay and all them. I'll definitely stand up for the guys, but we'll definitely not put names out there. I think they must definitely work on the officiating, get everybody together, make sure that everybody interprets the laws the same way. Make sure that the TMOs and the refs are on the same page. But like I said the other day, they know more than we do, and we just allowed to lift our opinion. But from my point of view, it's horrible decision making.
No, I agree. I mean that's also, I mean, it's probably because everybody likes to say either South Africans or the Stormers like to blame the ref. That I've actually, and of course, being going into the referees before, serious injury stop me from it. I always try and look at it from a referee's point of view. And I mean, I've gone to games where I've watched and everyone's like, no, that's not a card. And you actually sitting there going, actually, if you look at the law, there's the card. And then at the same time, I look at some cards that have been red cards, like the Angelo Davids on Nahumba last year, where I'm like, there's mitigation to bring it down for me because both players were down. Uh,
Mm.
and Angelo was already committed into the tackle when Nahumba went down and kind of stepped it. So, and you got a red card from where I'm like looking, but that to me is there was mitigation factor for a yellow, but now we went into a red. But yeah, but I mean that is something. To be honest, I think the Bulls just kind of lost it at that point. I mean
Yeah.
they were in the lead at that point, and then Rogers scored the final try 5 minutes
Mm.
later, which of course put the nail into the coffin and made Jacques have a very bad weekend because you know happy wife, happy life, or happy girlfriend, happy life. Um,
You
Yeah.
see, but there's two things that I need to say. Firstly, unfortunately, if you look at the laws, head contact is red card. There's nothing that we can do about it. It is the law. And then the second thing, in the wise words of my girlfriend, Yelismi, I have to say her name this time, that everybody knows. She said the Bulls won. They beat the Scarlets, but they lost to the ref. Her words.
Well, 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 irrational fan thinking, but I do think the Bulls were very poor on Friday night. I think the Scarlets have gotten better this season. I said it a few weeks ago after their game against Connacht, where they threw that away. They're getting better, but the Bulls should have beat them. The Bulls were poor, they were lackluster, they were kind of throwing half passes. And in the final, Tom Rogers tried. Both Curtly Aronsdale and Caden Moody have to make that tackle. They've
Two
both been
Springboks.
two Springboks, and Tom Rogers has absolutely destroyed the two of them, by the way, which we could get onto, but I won't. But the two of them have to make that tackle. And if they do make that tackle, who knows? Maybe the whole Scarlets up. But yeah, I think more blame has to be attributed to the Bulls. Plus, anyway, if as it says, where head contacts a red card, maybe if it had been mitigated to a yellow, there was what 13 minutes left in the game, 14.
Mm.
A red card at that point, a yellow card at that point is essentially a red card because the player's off for the rest of the game anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think maybe blaming the referees is a bit premature because if it's a yellow card, it's essentially a red card at that point in the game.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also, if you look at the timing of it, even if it was a yellow card, the try would have been scored in that same time period. If it was a yellow, so I mean, you can't blame that point. I do think there was a few calls that I was looking at, going, Where are you seeing it from?" But it was both ways. I do think it did alter the Bulls' momentum in that game because it seemed like they were getting forward and then all of a sudden there was those calls which kind of just hindered the whole process of going forward. But yeah, let's not harp on that one too long. And then we had Ulster versus Ospreys. Just looked like Ulster had a different game altogether. There. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, I watched some of this back, so I guess I can give more insight. But
yeah,
it's hard for the Ospreys. They've so many injuries. I think they've 16 first team players out. There's 17, and with the size of the Welsh squads, that's a huge amount of bodies out. A lot of them being their best players like Jack Morgan and fellas like this. The one positive I'll take for the Ospreys is because a lot of them went over knowing they were going to lose. And just it was all about keeping score down. I'll give them two positives. First of all, Justin Tipperick. At his age, I think he's 36 or 35, he's still incredible. He is still harboring, doing the hard work, winning turnovers, making tackles. He is an unbelievable athlete and a huge credit to himself that he's still going, still playing this well at this age against a really good Ulster side. And secondly, I think the Ospreys in that second half were really good because at half time, I wasn't watching, I watched the Scarlets game, but I was looking at that scoreline thinking Ulster could put 60, 70 points on them here. But Watching it back, their defense was really good in the second half. They held Ulster out. They really fought hard against those kind of first set piece moves the Irish teams are famous for. So I would give Ospreys a lot of positives, but Ulster were just another gear or two above the Ospreys.
Probably because I'm just a bit more of a Springbok fan and Stormers fan. I see the kicking let them down, but I don't hear harping on that happening too much from the Ospreys. But I mean, yourself as an Irish fan must be actually quite excited with Stockdale right now because he seems to be on a completely different mission right now. He's running and everything like that, and getting through is like amazing. And I think for the test coming up, him on the wing is going to be quite quite a train to try and stop right now because he seems like he's running with so much power and gusto right now that he's getting over the line with ease, getting over the advantage line. So even if he isn't scoring tries, he's at least getting the yards that you need.
Yeah, well, I think that the best thing to happen to Ulster was Richie Murphy coming in. And the best thing to happen to a number of their players is Richie Murphy coming in because he's playing the right type of rugby. He's getting the ball out to the wings. Under Dan McFarland, it was really one-dimensional, kind of old school. The forwards benefited a lot to score a hell of a lot of maul tries. But the likes of Stockdale out in the wing and Mike Lowry and, James Hume in centre weren't getting too much ball. And Ulster were getting caught out, much like Leinster do. That is a jab, yes. When a bigger pack came up against them and they got bullied up front, all of a sudden they're throwing the balls out to the backs, just going, do something, anything. But now Ulster have a plan and plot when they face a bigger side. So, like, if they face the Bulls, there's not many sides bigger pack than Ulster, but the Bulls, Leinster, Glasgow, these type of teams have bigger packs. And, like, they showed against Glasgow, they scored 3 tries. Two of them were out the back, back moves that caught Glasgow out. And one was just in the last minute grinding runs. So it'll be interesting to see when they come up against Leinster, when they come up against the Stormers with a full side and see if they can really push them up front and if they can kind of exploit them at the back. But I think Ulster have exciting prospects. I don't think they're challengers this year. I think it's probably at least a year too soon. But next year or the year after, with some of the boys that are coming through up there, they could be really, really dangerous.
I mean, I do think they're going to be top 8 if they carry on with this kind of momentum and they keep building on what they had this week, and everything. Jacques, I don't know if you saw that game or if you were too busy blowing your whistle.
I had a busy weekend.
Yeah.
So I just watched here and there. I watched the Bulls, a little bit of the Lions, and obviously the Sharks. I did watch. So yeah.
Well, since you mentioned it, the Lions should have been the Sharks because they were playing in a torrential downpour. That game was wet. I mean, when I saw the conditions, I was like, nah. And then when I saw the final score, I was like, it's fitting for a game like that.
Oh, definitely.
It wasn't going to be like a hectic game of scoring tries, even though there was one try scored. I do think Zebra was maybe a little bit disappointed with the fact that they missed that one kick. They could have actually given them the game, but I think the Lions also held off pretty well to get that try and to literally hold off. No, I think I can't remember. I think there was no points in the second half.
What I would say about the Lions, just to kind of butt in, is that I think they're maybe the best team in the league at winning by less than 7 points. This tour, they played 2 games. They played 2 games against teams that you would probably say they're better than, or you definitely say they're better than. And they haven't played well in either of them, and they've won the 2 of them. Because against the Dragons, they just found a way. They weren't good. They weren't anything special at all, but they found a way. They just done enough. I didn't watch the Zebra game. I watched a bit of the highlights, but from what I saw again, they just done enough. They played the condition 1% better than Zebra did. So
Yeah,
I think
so
the Lions can continue that and just win games by small margins. They can be in the top eight, definitely.
yeah, so I mean the second half was 3 points each, so it was a penalty each. That was it. Which I mean, in the conditions, like I said, that they were in, it was it was yeah, it wasn't going to be a high scoring game, and it was going to come down to something, either one try or whoever's got the better boot that day. But yeah, then we can go talk about the Warriors versus Sharks.
Oh, do we have to?
Uh, he's got the picture, so we might as well let him talk.
Okay, go on. Gosh, gosh. Come on.
You want me to
Again,
mute
it
him?
wasn't a it wasn't a good performance by either teams, to be quite honest. It wasn't a, if I can say, it wasn't a good looking game. As the one team looks like they're getting over the advantage line, they lose it, whether it's turnover or knock on silly 50-50 passes that didn't go to hand. Unfortunately, I must say that the ref was not the best, but it went both ways. You can do this all you want. He made the mistakes both ways. It wasn't just for Glasgow, just for the Sharks. But the biggest thing for me is we won, and that's all that matters.
Just FYI, Andrew Brace was the TMO. Hey, Darragh. Oh, he's clapping.
So
Oh yeah,
like,
sorry. Before you do anything, VP, yo, lekker ding.
Beer, yo, lekker ding. Come on. You have to say it. You have to say it.
what was that? Sorry, oh, it's gone. The audio.
Come
What?
on, just beer,
I don't know.
yo, lekker ding.
Is it VP van Lekker Dunk? I
We'll give it
mean,
to you being Irish.
in my Paddy bliss, my Afrikaans is not up to scratch. But then again, if I ask you to speak a little bit of Gaeilge, there is a.
Listen,
I might have to do that.
I was there at that game. I will be honest, going into the game, I was a bit concerned. Considering we hadn't beaten you guys prior to that. Um,
Wait, excuse me. You never beat Munster.
until
No,
this.
because we own them. So do you know what I mean? So we went down to Cape Town in a final, the big one, the one that everyone cared about, in front of a full stadium, 55,000 people, and we won.
They were the first team to beat us at home, and twice in one season.
First team to beat the Stormers at home. First team from Europe to beat the Bulls at home. We go down there. We own you. You're the country. We're going down to the Kings Park next week. The one Saturday ground we haven't won at yet. We drew there. We've never won there. Be ready, Jacques. Be ready. But to talk about Munster, to talk about our performance, because I thought the Stormers were okay. They weren't
No,
anything special.
be honest. I will be honest. We were defending like our lives depended on it, and then Hartzenberg got
The
that
defense was good.
intercept. Yeah, Hartzenberg got that intercept, which then opened up. But then you guys came back with 2 tries straight after that, and it was like, oh gosh, are we gonna go here? Here we go again. And there was like 2 missed opportunities from you guys. Yeah, Ruan now.
Yeah. Renowned 2 tries, yeah. But
Tennyson was quite quick on the mark. There was that penalty, quick touch, straight over, crash.
Yeah.
The crowd went
Well,
crazy over there. But then that was 14-12 at half time.
yeah.
So, yeah.
40, I have to say about it is Jack Crowley, and as much as I like the guy, has directly handed the Stormers 14 points. 2 intercept tries in the same game. I don't the second one I pretty much just walked out of the room for, so I'm not even I can't really. It was just a horrible pass. The first one to try an out of the back of the hand pass there is ridiculous to the
And this
fullback.
is why, youngsters, this is why we say stick to the basics. Don't do the fancy stuff.
Yeah. So on top of that, he missed 10 twice, which nearly saw my remote go through the TV on the second one, which is ridiculous. I can only imagine if I was there, I would have been kicked out of the stadium for the
No, we would have
profanity
hugged you.
used. There would have been a steward come over, about 3 of them, and drag me out of the stadium. Because, yeah, but on top of that, the line out, again, my TV
JD
is still
Sickling.
intact. Let's just thank Christ my TV is still intact in terms of our line out. 3, I think, was the 2 lineouts on the 5 meter line that we lost on the Stormers 5 meter line. At least 2. We lost more than half our lineouts. Our hookers are a very poor standard. Our lineout was terrible against Leinster. It was terrible again yesterday. Not yet. Yesterday. It's Wednesday. It was terrible again on Saturday. I'm losing my mind talking about it. But
Who's gone to the
on
head?
top of that, I just think it was poor all around. There's too many of our players are out of form and still starting. The first scrum, was it the first scrum? It was one of the first scrums. We won a penalty. I was thinking, oh, brilliant, we have them. And then, like that, the Stormers had our scrum on toast. So, yeah, our forward pack.
That scrum was right in front of me. And I will say this, that call went the wrong way. Because Munster were completely overextended. They were knees on the ground before the whistle even blew, and then we get blown up. And I was like, what the hell? I then made a comment that made half the crowd laugh, which I will not repeat. No, it wasn't profanity. It was making fun of a South African insurance company. But I'll tell you
Are you
guys.
talking?
Are
you talking bad about insurance? You know that I've got one of those kits.
That's also why I'm not mentioning anything. But they sponsored the whole of South African rugby, even Western Province, you name it. Like my daughter was wearing my old province referee's top because she wanted something to represent Stormers. But yeah,
next
Yeah,
week
but-
I'll have my ref kit on next week.
I'll wear the old ref kit with the
and I'll get on an Ireland jersey, and so we'll all be happy. I've even got, just to show the people how Irish I am, I've even got a dart flight that has Ireland on it.
I'm actually wearing my ref shorts now.
We don't want to see that.
No, you don't, because the lights will be too bright and I'll probably break everybody's screens. And yeah,
we just move on, please.
But one thing I will say is Willemse. It looks like the old Willemse that is back. No, with the dancing feet. Though he still needs. He would be better with something with a bit more space, but he was trying to look for those gaps and everything.
Yeah, well, our national campaign of Bring Back Libach, hashtag it, because he loves playing Munster. We love him in Munster. Didn't work because Willemse was probably the best player of all games this weekend. He was phenomenal. A drop goal, he kicked all his kicks. He kicked hard ones as well. General play was really good. So, Manny, if you see this, we want you. We need you back. We get up that song. I'll get it up there. Was it I Want You Back? Oh, baby. I want you back. So we get that going.
No, but I mean, I was watching Willemse kick at the beginning, and he was getting this curve, and I was like, "Oh no, here we go! Like here comes the Storm's disease with the kicking." But then when in the game it was completely different. Like and the when he did the drop goal, the listening to the crowd, everything, he was phenomenal. Just watching him from the side of the field, he looked phenomenal. I saw you shaking your head there, Jacques, so I don't know why you saying.
I'm so sorry, but I think he is the most overrated player in the world.
Hey, listen, he was a lot better than your twin 10.
I
Your
don't
twin
give a
10 was part
crap.
of the reason why you struggled in the first half.
He
I
doesn't
don't
play for
care.
the Sharks. He's not overrated.
I don't care. And it's not just now. I've been saying it for the last 3, 4 years. He's overrated. He thinks way too much of himself. His head is like this. I think he needs to go play rugby there by Earl Rose in the Boland, or go steal some golf clubs with Earl Rose in the Boland, and then just find himself again, and then he can come play again. Just to burst the bubble on his head, to come down to earth a bit. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
At least he's not like Elton Yankees. His hairstyle still looks normal.
Oh God, Elton Yankees.
Yeah, we don't like him. We don't
No.
talk
I
about
love him. I
Elton.
love him. I
Yeah,
love him.
you love him as an
Elton,
as the
Elton J,
opposition.
Elton J, right, is the best South African player since CJ Stander. You know,
Oh,
because
Lordy
every
above.
every time every time he came back for the Springboks, genuinely, I every time he came back for Springboks, I come home from school, I'd hear I'm still standing inside the sitting room. This isn't even a joke now. And my father being there, and he'd be just like, Elton Yankees got picked for the Springboks, and if they were playing Ireland, it was happy days. It was the free victories, you know, just shoving them out there.
There's a saying that I have. He should have been sponsored by Polyfiller because that man could crack under pressure. The best position for him is in the far corner of the stadium, nowhere near the ball.
Him and Nibok both.
No, Liverpool can at least handle the pressure because if you had to look at it, if Marnie's kicking is bad, his running game is still fine. Where Alton, if his running game was bad, his kicking game was bad. If his kicking game was bad, his running game was bad. The only way he could work is if
Is it
everything
both
was
of us?
working in harmony, which is what you need in a player now like Marnie Libbok. If one side of his game isn't working, you still need him to be able to do the other side of the game. But yeah, let's move on. Edinburgh versus Cardiff. I didn't actually. I watched some of the highlights.
Yeah.
It looked just like Edinburgh just kept on running, and Cardiff was trying to play catch up most of the game.
Yeah, Edinburgh have improved since their tour down south. Uh, One thing I will say as a Munsterman, the omission of Ben Healy does seemingly upset me a small bit. Because the fact that he left Munster for Edinburgh, and now they don't use him. But that's probably deserved because a lot of blame went to him for that disaster in Johannesburg. But I read a quote today of somebody who said, you know, blaming the halfbacks for uh, your forward pack getting dominated is like blaming the steering wheel when your engine goes bust on a car. So I do think the omission is a bit unfair on Ben Healy. You see, for a
Nah,
guy who's so young, I've got all these quotes up here.
and that's why we enjoy having you on this podcast.
We're known as the land. We got so much poetry up here for some reason. Us paddies.
Yeah. And then we had the sticky hand game of Leinster versus Connacht, where Archie Snyman got
Beaten
another try.
twice. Beaten twice by Leinster in 2 weeks, I have been.
Yeah,
One
I was
half
about to say,
went up to Croke Park, one half beaten by Leinster. The other half of the family have been beaten by Leinster twice in 2 weeks. And R.T. Snyman was man of the match.
Just quick question: have you got any Ulster family? Because they're probably your last hope.
No, it's all either Limerick or Galway. Sadly,
Okay.
sadly, it's all Munster and Connacht because even if I could throw on a northern accent, I could convince a few people. I suppose I might do that from next week on. If Munster loses Sharks, I'm from Ulster. From now on, I'm gonna put on a Northern Irish accent and I'm gonna go mental with that.
Yeah, but I mean, then the surprising game for me was Dragons versus Benetton, which was a bit of a back and forth at one point before Benetton ran away
Uh,
with it. I'm going to be honest, Dragons this season is definitely an improvement for the last three tournaments that we've had.
the
I mean, to the
last the last
point,
20 years, it's a better team than I've ever seen.
yeah, I
Not
mean
just
they
a
they're not
singular
they're not
team.
sitting at the bottom of the log right now, which is not normal for them. Um, I mean, okay, except for Zebra, who's behind them, but then they got the Ospreys, which unfortunately means another Wales team is down at the bottom, which is something I would like to see different. I would like to see either Irish or South African team. I actually don't really care because I do think mentally it does take a toll when you are sitting at the bottom and you sit there and you're like, oh gosh, another South African or another bad year between Italy and stuff. I know I used to think about that when the Lions were at the bottom of the log in Super Rugby.
Hmm.
It's kind of like you don't feel proud about, and then you see those players in your national team, and you're sitting there going like, do you deserve to be there considering where your team's sitting? Like,
Yeah, we could have said that about Sharks last season, but like,
yeah, but at least they finished 13th, so they were okay-ish.
oh,
Champions Cup winners.
Challenge Cup winners. There's a massive
Same
difference. They
same
do not.
difference.
That's not
Hey,
the
hey,
same difference.
hey, you need to thank them. They brought a trophy to Tottenham's stadium. I think that's the last time you can see a stadium, a trophy in that stadium for a while.
I'm going to Tottenham in December.
I
I'm
can't
going
wait.
to a
There we
match.
go.
So I'm going over there to lose and to fly back. And it's like
Who
5 days
you
before.
playing?
Liverpool.
Stay at home. Don't go there to
Don't waste your
lose.
money.
Don't waste your
I've been
money.
I've been over there like 9 times, but we've never actually lost when I've gone over there, which is extremely surprising because we're terrible.
There's
Um,
always a first time for everything.
maybe one day I'll get to see Munster, not lose a lot of games because since 2019, before 2019, I saw one loss in 3 years at Munster Stadium. I've seen four this year. This
So,
year.
here's the thing, all right, and I hate to bring this up, especially to Leinster and everything like that. Leinster always starts off on these great momentum things, and then they get hampered, especially when you come around the Six Nations and everything like that, and the players don't play. Then you almost they're almost sucking at straws, and that's where they lose. That's where they lose the semis. They lose. They haven't made it to a final since
Heineken Cup.
since the URCs come in. They don't seem to get beyond that thing. They they almost seem like the Irish team in the Rugby World Cup. Uh,
What did if I had to bring it up one more time, that after the quarterfinals, the fun ends. I will explode.
Oh, so when Leinster leaves, the fun starts. I mean, the fun's over.
In
Got
Europe,
you.
in Europe, once Leinster get knocked out, we all have a massive party. It's all great crack. All the lads love it. But after a World Cup quarterfinal, you're sitting there and you're seeing all these people take lumps out of each other. It's just like, what's the point? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
The
have
only the only reason why you say the fun stops is because you don't know any better. Because you only get so far.
Well, to be fair, I only learned like 4 or 5 weeks ago that there was actually after a quarterfinal in the World Cup. But once I learned about that, I watched some of these games and people call them, what do they call them? They call them Semi-final. The semi-final, that's what they call it. And they called them that. And I watched these games, and it's just, what was it? Finished 15-16 in one of them last time, and
No,
the
no,
other
you got it
one.
right. Out of the knockout stages, South Africa's point difference is positive 3. 3.
Yeah,
One
well, as I
against
said,
against France, one against England, and one against New Zealand.
as I said, I learned about this whole semi-final thing, and then I learned about a final, which is like a new concept to me because I support Spurs and Ireland, so I don't know what that thing is, but I
The
figured this out.
mythical, it's a mythical
The lands
tournament.
of fairies and bunnies and all good things, and I
And
learned
South
about the
Africa's
final.
100%.
Oh God, that's because you've never played
We're
Ulster once.
100% conversion ratio in the finals.
If we only
And
tried in
50%
the
is
World Cup
either
quarter
England or
final,
50% is the All Blacks.
if we ever tried in the World Cup quarter final and met you in the final, it could be a different story.
Yeah,
But
but the
because we
problem is
don't
your fly
try,
half was crying about a comment made towards him.
if you think I like Johnny Sexton as a Munster fan, you are very, very, very mistaken.
No, I was just saying as an Irish supporter because he was your fly half,
Yeah,
and someone said enjoy retirement, and he was like crying the rest of the way.
yeah, normally when we say we enjoy retirement, we throw a party. Do you know what I mean? We all want the party afterwards, but
Yeah.
uh, he can go back to being on the Mace adverts, which is a shop in Ireland. He does adverts first, so that's his whole role now.
All right, well, let's get into this week's games. We're going to start off with Friday again with Scarlets going up against Zebra. Uh, if Scarlets can carry on the way they're going with the positive from this last weekend, even though there was controversy in it, I do think they're definitely going to beat Zebra.
Mhm.
Um,
I've a friend from Connecticut that I'm at on holiday. He watches this, so if I don't say the Scarlets, he's going to text me some very nasty messages. So Scarlets, but
if there's no language in it, you can send it to me and I'll put it into the podcast. So it'll be like somewhere in the
no,
corner
no, no, no. There will be profanities.
comments.
There will be not so
Well,
very nice language.
if they win, tell him we want a picture of him celebrating in either a jersey or a picture. Then we'll put him in the corner.
Oh God, does he not go when they win every 5 years?
Well, did
But
you
yeah,
see the
Scarlets,
TikTok? You
Scarlets.
guys didn't send me any thing, so that's why I made a TikTok on myself on our
Yeah,
TikTok channel.
what did you want to see? A photo of my remote smashed?
I think Zebra is in a positive state. I think they're gonna take it.
Is that just because you're arguing with him the whole time?
Yeah.
No, I think it's gonna be a close game though. But I
Yeah.
think Zebra's gonna take it at the end.
Well, I mean, that's part of the reason why I say Scarlet's going to take it because Scarlet's are playing at home. If it was at Palmer, then I might have said Zebra. But yeah. Then we got Benetton hosting the Bulls.
Easy win for Benson. Easy.
Okay, so I've
especially
got
with the. Oh, don't hear him now. He's forced to say the Bulls. I'm not having this.
no. I'm gonna actually put. I'll make a bet. The Storm, the Bulls are gonna get a red card.
It's almost as easy to say as Leinster bottling a final. It's almost like the two indispensables. The Bulls getting a red and Leinster not winning finals.
Yeah, Benetton's at home. It's going to be close, and I'm actually going to say Benetton against the Bulls this time.
Me too. I'm also
agree.
gonna go for Benetton.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's gonna be an angry household there tomorrow morning now when his
And then
lovely
we go-
girlfriend sees this.
Luckily, she lives in Pretoria. She can't
You're very
hit
lucky.
me tomorrow morning.
When do you next see her though? It's not going to be fun
It's not
times
gonna
for
be-
you. You're gonna have.
Not gonna be fun times at all.
And then we go to Stellenbosch to the Winelands because for some odd reason we're not playing in Cape Town. Stormers versus the reigning champions Glasgow Warriors. We shall welcome Hugh Jones back to his home. considering that's where Hugh
And
Jones
half
started
the
his
squad.
professional
Half the
career.
squad.
And half the squad as well, Kyle Steyn. That's why they're playing there, because it's a home territory for them. It explains it
Yeah.
all now. Um,
The
yeah.
Winelands.
Marnie Lubbock is apparently back in the team for that game. That's what I've heard. So,
Good win for Glasgow. So,
but I'm going to say Stormers in front of the Donny Craver, where most of them have played university rugby and everything like that. Those guys are going to play for so much pride there. I'm going to say Stormers.
I'm going to
It's
say
going to be a
Glasgow.
close game, though.
Yeah, it's going to be really good. It's game of the weekend, definitely. But I'm going to say
Yeah.
Glasgow. I think they played. If they just shored up that Sharks performance by 5%, I think they'll beat the Stormers.
Then the game that Darragh's going to watch, so we can have a
I'm going to
quiet.
go for a draw. Sorry. I'm going for a draw, 18-all.
Yeah,
That hasn't happened
that's
yet.
never gone well. That's never. Every time he's predicted a draw, I think he's predicted 3 of them. It's never been a draw. Just saying.
And then the game that Darragh's going to watch, so we can have a quiet time watching the game, is Ospreys versus Edinburgh, while the Sharks take on Munster. Oh, fudge. Never mind.
Quiet. Quiet.
Yeah, I did say that with a bit of tongue in cheek, because I know you're going to be sitting there and that group's just going to be pinging every minute something happens.
No, because I don't. What I do typically is in the first half, I don't go near my phone. But then in the second half, I usually either get way too happy or way too annoyed, and I'm texting everyone. Every
I
time
know
there's a
that.
break in play, I'm ranting about something or I'm
Darragh
celebrating
Hayes,
something.
Darragh Hayes, Darragh Hayes, Darragh Hayes, Darragh Hayes.
You
Maybe
know,
Facebook or
I could be truthful here, and my head is saying something, but it is saying Munster because there's not a hope in hell I'm going to accept us losing to Goldfish RFC. Okay, so I'm gonna stubbornly say Munster are going to go down there and complete the quadret and finally winning Kings Park. If you don't poison us, that's a big part of it. If you don't poison us.
so, AKA give
Just
them some
don't
bunny
eat the
chow.
sushi. Don't eat the sushi.
And don't touch the bunny chow.
Don't trust anything they give you. If you're
The
watching
thing
this,
is,
don't trust anything they give you.
they have like a few of my favorite players, especially from the times that they used to play at Stormers. It's gonna be a hard game. I do think after the talking to the team got from Roundtree.
Talking to, we're being very generous when we say that.
Yes, I'm saying that also just to make sure that we stay within the age limit, um, and everything. Um, yeah, I do think they're going to come with a fire, behind them. I do think they're going to be dangerous. Uh, Sharks can't use the Afrikaans in the lineouts because of Jean Klein, which might work in Munster's favor.
Yeah, I was actually talking to a Springbok fan at Croke Park. There's actually a Bok fan sitting beside me, believe it or not. And I was talking to him, and he said, "Do you reckon Snyman and Klein are shouting insults at each other in Afrikaans?" So I wonder if it would be like, and I'm just going to tell this story really quickly. In 2008, in the Heineken Cup final, Munster played Toulouse, uh, and Alan Quinlan, who you've all heard of, I assume, our flanker, went up to one of the Toulouse players. I forget his name now; it escapes me. But he
Reynard
went up
Alstad.
to him, and in French came up, said an insult about his mother, which I can't repeat. And your man kicked Quinlan in the knee, got a yellow card, and Munster scored a try and a penalty in the time he got sent off. So basically, knowing the opposition's language and insulting it apparently works for Munster. So hopefully that Tyne goes up to Estebet and does the business for us.
Yeah, Listen, but of course, me being a SA fan and everything like that, and the Sharks are actually like my second team. I am gonna say I have to say Sharks are gonna take it, but like I am gonna say it is gonna be a tight game, and I will. Sharks do need to pitch up on Saturday. They can't just expect anything to happen because this is not going to be the same Munster team that we've seen so far, and especially after the last weekend against the Stormers, this is going to be it's going to be do or die for a couple of the players because I'll tell you now, Roundtree will probably make sure that they never want to touch a rugby ball after this if it is a bad performance. Blow if the referees crap or anything like this. Those guys need to make sure that they turn on from the time that first whistle goes to that last whistle. But in the end, I'm going to say Sharks are going to take it. It's going to come within a try for me. There's going to be points both ways. Either way you look at it. If Sharks lose, they're going to walk away with the point. Munster lose, they're walking away with the point. Then we got top of the table, which is going to be probably set up what will probably be in the final for me. We got Lions versus Leinster. Leinster at the moment are a lot more senior in age compared to the Lions. The Lions don't have a lot of the seniority of players in there, except for like in their front row. I'm gonna have to say
Absolutely.
I'm gonna have to say it's gonna be Leinster, especially with
Has to be
someone like
Leinster.
yeah. Doc.
Lions can afford to lose that game. With the fact is they've had a successful Northern tour. I know they're coming back up here after the November internationals, but if you take this block of 3 games, they'd have looked at it before and say win against Dragons, win against Zebra, and you can kind of Leinster's a free shot, and they've done that. I think so. The Lions can be happy with this Northern tour, but they're not going to beat Leinster in Dublin.
Yeah. You going Lions?
My girlfriend's father is a Lion.
Oh, for
And I
God's
know
sake, he has connections to all 4 of the
No.
franchises, man.
We do. My cousin is a Bull supporter. Then I have my other family who's Lions. Then I got family who lives in Durban. So, like, when it comes to South African, there's a good chance we do have someone that we know and connected to in one of the other teams.
If my cousin was a Leinster fan, he'd be shocked. So that's
so, but to be quite honest, besides now the fact of last week that the Lions played in that fantastic weather that they played in, they've been playing pretty decent rugby for the age that they are. They're very young, very immature, but the guys that have come to the party, they've been playing fantastic rugby. I don't think that they'll beat Leinster. If they do, it'll be a bonus. But I think maybe the first 20, first 30, they're going to give Leinster a big run for their money. But I think if they don't keep up the pace, Leinster is going to run away with it.
I feel that immature comment was not as much directed at the Lions, but directed at someone in this podcast. So
And
Kirby, mate, you need to buck up the axe, really. Come on now, I know.
yeah. Then we go to your second team, Darragh, playing against the Connacht, playing against Dragons. Yeah, I'm gonna go Connacht with that game.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't win, I mean, I don't even
The
know what to do. As I said, if they don't win, Munster don't win. I'm from Belfast next week. I'm from Ulster. I don't want to know what he's after sending. I do not want to know.
It's something that can't be shown on the thing, but it's towards you.
Oh God, wait.
Yeah.
I had to. I just had to.
Yeah. Then we end off the weekend with Cardiff versus Ulster. I don't think Cardiff's going to hold up against Ulster right now. I think it's definitely going to be Ulster win that game.
Yeah, I agree. Ulster for life.
Yeah. And you, Jacques?
I'll also, I don't want to say draw again, but
Yeah, you don't because you never get it right. Just say one or the other. Get off the fence.
Next
sooner, sooner
season,
or later, sooner or later, I'll get it right. All right, I'll guess one right. But if you look at the stats and all that, Cardiff doesn't stand a chance.
I'm going to start up a super brew just for us, and if anybody else who listens to us wants to join, that's fine. Just so we can see who's actually the better one in predicting.
Not Jacques.
Draw, 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 draw.
You'll get a few points for being within the 7, and he'll be just jumping around on the podcast saying, "Oh, Ulster only won by 3 points. I got my half a point, but you predicted a draw."
Um, then yeah, I've seen that the squads have been released for some of the teams
Mhm.
for the autumn tour. The one that I do find actually the one article I read, which is actually quite interesting, is Cameron Honeycomb from the Bulls has a
He's
Welsh
well qualified.
grandmother.
Yeah.
The Bulls have said
He-
they're not going to release him until 2027, which I think is where Wales is going to shoot themselves in the foot with this whole thing that no players must be in Wales or within a certain cap.
No, that's not a thing for if you can make your first cap for Wales while playing outside Wales, but
Uh,
if you make your first cap while playing in Wales, you have to stay in Wales. So Lewis Rees-Zammit never played in Wales. He played for Gloucester his whole career.
oh yeah,
So you can be abroad for your first cap and you could stay abroad, but you you can't play for the Ospreys and then go to England after making your first cap and still be big.
and I will
So
be, and I will also be dead honest. If Hanekom doesn't make the move to Wales, he'll be. It's going to shoot himself in the foot as well. If he can do it, I will suggest he goes because he's not going to get his chance at the Springboks.
no.
currently.
I'm sorry,
Um,
it's especially if you look at the squad that the Springboks chose. Jan Hendrik Wessels, utility forward, where he can play hooker, prop. I'm sure he'll be able to play lock, flank, 8 man because he's big, strong, and fast enough to play all of those positions. And I would have said that this would have been the perfect time to give Hanekom a go.
especially against
And I'm
Wales.
very against Wales. And I am very sad that Sanele Naomba didn't get his call up.
I also think, as far as I heard somewhere, there's also a bit of contract negotiations with him. I think they're either trying to keep him or he's moving to the Stormers. Which, to be honest, I would like him to see him at the Stormers. Um, he definitely plays a fast game. I think Stormers do have the fastest ruck speed out of everybody at the
Mm,
moment.
they do.
Last season they were definitely fast. I think that's what led us down the previous game that we played against Edinburgh was the fact that we didn't ruck and we try to speed up before the rucks, which yeah. But yes, that is it is some interesting. We will definitely be keeping an eye on the squads and everything. Hopefully next week we can actually have the squads up so we can actually show you guys the squads. I know apparently Scott Robertson pulled a Russie this weekend, or this week, for this weekend's game where he released the squad yesterday, um, to play against Japan. We shall see what happens with that game. We'll probably just mention the score. I don't think I'm getting up to watch that game.
Japan all the way. Woohoo.
Not while Eddie Jones is in charge, unfortunately, mate,
uh,
because they're too suited to losing to the scummy Irish, as he once called it. And then
no.
after that game, we then stopped England winning the Grand Slam 3 months later in Dublin, and then we beat them in Twickenham to win the Grand Slam. So, you know, don't slag us off unless you're playing us in the quarterfinal, apparently.
Now, the one thing I
Like,
probably will never do is rag on the Irish because the Irish they either fight or they just bully or they just come with completely different game. You don't know what you're going to get on the day, and that's what probably makes them so dangerous. Unfortunately, Darragh has said, that they still need to experience this thing called a semi-final and a final. Six
But
Nations
there's
that is
one.
brilliant. The
There
Six
is one
Nations.
thing about
Yeah.
there
Sorry,
is
Josh?
one
Just
thing
thinking.
about the Irish. There's one thing about the Irish. They are probably one of the most unexpected teams ever. They can have 3, 4, 5 horrible games, and then they come up against New Zealand and just demolish them. They've got the potential. They can reach a semi-final so that they can know what it means to be in one. Then
We
they can
can.
know how to. They've got the potential to do it, but they like the Protea cricket team. They can't perform on the big when it matters most.
Well, we still won in Durban, so I guess that's something.
Yeah, that is something. Yeah, but I think, guys, I think we need to call it tonight. It's been a great episode. I've really enjoyed the jokes and everything that we've had. We'll keep an eye on the Autumn Nations tests, as they call them. We won't care about England too much because England's England, and right now they're in a disarray. But yeah, we will definitely keep an eye on the rest of the teams. To my fellow champs, Darragh and Jacques, thanks very much for joining me this weekend, well, this week, to talk about this weekend's games coming, past and coming. So yeah, guys, enjoy. Remember, like, subscribe, share, please. Let's grow this community. We've just hit over 500 views, which is awesome. So yeah, out of all our episodes and everything like that on YouTube. So yeah, let's keep it growing and let's keep the trajectory up.
Cheers.